Here we are, 6 o'clock. All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to December's town board meeting. It is 6 o'clock. I'll call the meeting to order. We will start out with the Pledge of Allegiance. Nick, you want to start us out, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, before we get started, I would like to say Happy Christmas, or Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to everybody. It's coming fast. We got a little snow, sounds like we might lose it tomorrow, though, but maybe it's still away Christmas. So, approve the agenda for the meeting tonight. Everybody got a copy?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Andy makes a motion, second? I'll second.
Yeah, I was gonna say, no problem.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Motion passes. Okay, we'll go through some minutes. We got quite a few minutes to approve. Here, we'll start out with the September 8th town board meeting. Everybody should have these in their packets.
I'll make a motion to approve September 8th minutes as presented.
Patty makes a motion, Amber makes a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, we'll move on to the September 28th September meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve September 28th minutes as presented.
Patty makes a motion. Second.
Second.
Mr. Bill seconds it. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No opposed, motion passes. Move on to October 4th meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve October 4th minutes as presented.
Patty makes a motion.
A second.
Amber seconds. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No opposed. October 12th.
I'll make a motion to approve October 12th.
Bill makes a motion.
I can second.
Patty seconds. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Opposed. Okay, we will move on to October 13th meeting minutes.
Make a motion to approve October 13th meeting.
Bill makes motion second.
I can second.
Patty seconds. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No opposed. Motion carries. We'll move on to October 19th.
I can make a motion to accept October 19th minutes as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Burning through them here. October 26th minutes. The motion.
I'll make that motion to accept.
Patty makes a motion. Get a second?
Second.
Andy, quick to the punch. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. November 2nd. Minutes.
I'll
Got a
make that
motion?
motion to accept November 2nd's minutes as presented.
Patty makes motion. Can I get a second?
A second.
Amber's got the second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No opposed. And finally, the November 9th meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to accept November 9th minutes as presented.
Second.
Patty, Bill second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, takes us to number 4, public comment. People wishing to address the board will be limited to 2 minutes each, with public comment limited to 30 minutes total, starting at 6:04. Anybody wish to address the board at all? If so, please stand, say your name,
Keith Whitkey, 6511 Batavia Avenue. It was told to me that we at the Lions Club are not allowed to have a sign on the exterior perimeter of our fence. And I gotta know where that comes from, because if that's a town ordinance, county ordinance, or on that right of way along the sidewalk there. We had a sign out there for Packer tailgate parties because we were using the main marquee for Toys for Tots, and the trailer for deer hide collections was out by the gate. So where does that come from, and who can give me the answer to that question?
So maybe part of that would depend on who told you. If you heard it from our police department or someone else. We do have sign ordinance regulations in our zoning ordinance. So that would be a good starting point to look at what the town's requirements are for signs. But there may be other ones, depending on who told you is probably what would guide my answer to you for where to look.
So can we get an answer to that, Nick, someplace? Who's gonna do that?
I don't know who told you. I don't mean to answer a question with a question, but if you were told that, my point is, I don't know who told you that. Did you hear that from the town? That you
No,
could not
I
have
did
that?
not.
Okay, because, again, the town has sign ordinance regulations in our zoning ordinance, but there may be some other regulations, for example, from the county. And so you can start by looking at the towns. I don't know who had told you that it was not okay to have that sign. I'm happy to follow up if you contact Peggy and maybe start that process with who you heard that from and what the concern was. And then she and I can work together to see if there's something in the town's ordinance that disallows that. Otherwise, again, there may be some regulations elsewhere, but we can work to answer it.
Yes, if we remember when that last building on the end used to have one of those signs out there, when the guy used to sell a lot of stuff, he didn't own it, but he rented that building, and we made him move the sign because he did not have a permit. And now, this one here, I have heard about it. And this sign here from an anonymous person that said that it's on the right of way, and do they have a permit? I think it's a good thing to check into because
Yeah.
it is right off the path, which is still in the right of way.
So in
From the county.
in our ordinance, we have designated between signs that require a permit, signs that don't require permits, certain time restrictions as well that are related to that. So if it's a issue with a sign needing a permit from the town, then that would be in our town's ordinance.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yeah.
Can you stand and say your name, please?
Shirley Clapper, 1811 45th Street South. My concern is the salt. I don't know if anybody saw the article in the paper, November 15th, urging less salt to be used on the roads because of the pollution of the wells. And not only that, for the concern over lakes, creeks, and that sort of thing. When excessive amount of salt gets in the lakes, you have a problem with it them not being able to flip in the spring and the fall, and their DNR is urging municipalities and residents not to use so much, also the wells. And it was on TV the other night, and I believe it said that 1 teaspoon of salt can pollute 5 gallons of water. So if that doesn't scare anybody, I don't know what does. But just think over the years of all the salt that's been put on our streets. And a couple weeks ago, we had maybe a ½ inch of snow, and the salt truck went through. And it was going to be 35 degrees, I think we just need to use some common sense on this and they recommended instead of salting, the plows go through more often. But, I think it needs to be education. I think the town residents, if you put it in the newsletter, to let people know that, hey, every time we get a little bit of snow, we're not gonna be out there with the salt trucks. Because we have the concern for your well water, we have lakes, we have Lake Wazeecha, we have Napco Lake, we have the creeks, and, I think I would like to see the town board be more proactive about this. Educate the town crew, or have a policy.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to address the board? If not, we will move on. We will do the monthly reports. First one is from the fire chief.
Evening, residents and board. We're currently staffed with 46 members. So we made a little rebound from our hole from earlier this year. But we're always looking for motivated individuals that are willing to do fire and EMS. If you're interested, stop by and see me or call the fire station. Call information. Since the last board meeting, we've responded to 52 calls for service, consisting of the following. We've had 45 EMS calls, and we've had 7 fire calls. So those 7 fire calls consisted of, I see I have a typo there. There was 1 motor vehicle accident, 2 false alarms, and we had 4 mutual aid calls with Rapids, Vesper, Buren, and Rudolph. So those calls from last year were up 31% in EMS and 14% in fire. This last week we closed out the books for the year. As a whole, EMS and fire, the percentages came up the same, but we were up 17.5% in call volume from last year in fire and in EMS. So last year in EMS we had 293 calls. This year we had 355. And then last year we had 99 calls for service for fire, and we had 120 calls for service when we closed out the books a couple days ago. So we did have a busy year. Training information this last month in preparation for deer hunting. We covered gunshot wounds and hunter retrieval out in the woods. And then for fire, we went through, we've obtained some new rope equipment, and we were doing some work with ropes and rope rescue. So we had our normal department meetings, normal training meetings, public relations. We had our blood drive that we have every 2 months from Versity. We're back putting smoke detectors in houses. I believe Captain Ski did 3 houses last week. And last month we sold 2 address signs. Safety department report, we did have 1 injury to a police officer last month, and that is my report. Any questions from the board? All right.
Thank you, sir.
You bet.
Police department.
Evening, everyone. Okay, for the month of November, the Grand Rapids Police Department handled 307 calls for service compared to 281 calls for service in November of last year. It's about a 9.2% increase in calls, and board members should have a breakdown of those calls. The police department issued 35 traffic citations, 4 municipal ordinance citations, and 36 written warnings for the month. Vehicles in the department doing well outside normal maintenance, minor repairs, and once again, if you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to stop by. Any questions?
Mel, I just wondered if you could give us a little update on the Helping Hands program.
Helping Hands, we're obviously right in the middle of it. I'd like to give a breakdown of that after after everything's happened, but we do have families identified. We have donations are coming in as we speak. We've already received, and after I believe they're shopping.
19th.
What's that?
19th.
19th, do the shopping and gift wrapping, and then presents will be delivered shortly, a few days after that.
Are
Just
you
before
able to
Christmas.
donate all year long for this program, or just during this time period?
Yeah, the Grand Rapids Auxiliary receives donations throughout the year. Usually end of around Thanksgiving time is when they send out letters soliciting the different residents and businesses that have donated in the past, and they go out and do that solicitation again, and then the majority of those come in, in that month before Christmas, and then, but they do receive donations throughout the year, just on as irregular basis, I guess, from time to time. So
So if someone wants to donate to the Helping Hands program, they would just contact the office here?
yeah, just contact the Grand Rapids Auxiliary. Officer Conover and Officer Jaworski head up the auxiliary department, so they can reach out to any one of those officers, or any of us for that matter, and then we usually get it to them.
Okay, it's a good program, so thank you.
Yes, very, very good program, so. Any other questions? Where's the drop-off at? That would be here. Yep, at the Grand Rapids, at our municipal building. It can be dropped off during basically normal business hours, so.
So you can drop monetary or a present of some sort? Or what is it?
Yes, yeah. Presents are accepted as well. Once we identify the families, then we get a feel for the age range of the kids, so that when we go out, then we can buy age appropriate toys and gifts or whatever those families are in need of. So the cash donations probably go a little bit further, because we know who we're buying for.
Right.
Sure.
So, all right.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you. Treasurer report.
Good evening. For the month of November, current month receipts were $263,973. Current month disbursements were $325,064. Cash on hand at the end of the month was $1,139,739, with $105,225 in checking, $355,319 in the repo account, $326,583 in the money market account, and $388,181 in the ARPA funds. I have started collecting taxes, so we are open from 8 to 4:30, Monday through Thursday. Closed from 1 to 2 for lunch hour, and Fridays hours are from 8 till noon. So bring your taxes in. Any questions?
Thank you. All the department reports then. We'll move on to item 6, consideration and possible action for Shane Roosh Land Development, final plat review of Deer Road Acre subdivision to be located on a 19.17 acre parcel owned by Roosh Land Development 1 LLC, described as section 34T22 N range 6E N 1/2 of the northeast quarter, southeast quarter town of Grand Rapids, Wood County, parcel number 0701003. We have an update from the...
Yeah, we had this agenda item, and it was recommended to the town board from the Plan Commission. The Plan Commission, well, it had a preliminary map to begin with. This is the final map that was presented last night. With the final map, they've made all the corrections to the final map as requested by our attorney/zoning administrator. So we did not have any changes or corrections to the map. So it'll be forwarded onto the village of Port Edwards for signatures, and also will also go to Wood County yet one more time for approval.
And they're right there on the
Yeah,
board.
just a couple other points. So you'll recall back at your October board meeting, you had reviewed a preliminary plat and conditioned the approval of the preliminary plat on 11 things that needed to be reflected in the preliminary plat. In your maps, in your packets, you have the final plat. Up on the board there are two maps. The one on the left is the updated preliminary plat map. We did review that larger map. It's easier to see, so if anybody is interested in viewing that, those ones are definitely easier to make out the finer details. All 11 pieces of information that we did condition the approval of the preliminary plat are reflected on that left map. Because some of that is hard to read or hard to make out, most of it is included or reflected on the final plat map, but things like utility locations are shown on the preliminary plat map but not on the final plat map because it's a bit easier to read that final plat map without them. The Plan Commission, as was stated, did review this at yesterday's meeting, ensured that the items that the conditioned approval of the preliminary plat were met, and as was stated, did recommend the approval of the final plat.
Any
So if
further
you're looking-
discussion?
No?
Questions on it at all, anybody? Otherwise, I think, looking for a motion.
Okay, I can make that motion to approve the Shane Roosh Land Development Final Plat Review of Deer Road Acres subdivision to be located on a 19.17 acre parcel owned by Roosh Land Development 1 LLC, described as Section 34T22 North Range 6 East North half of the northeast quarter, southeast quarter of town of Grand Rapids, Wood County, Wisconsin, parcel number 0701003.
I'll second that motion.
Second, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Opposed, motion passes. On to 7, consideration and possible action on resolution 2021-35, approve the list of election inspectors to be effective January 1st, 2022. We all have a list.
Before we accept the motion, or a motion is made, there was a request given to me yesterday that there were 4 individuals that that wanted to be on the election list, and it was sent to, it was apparently US mailed to our clerk. These 4 names did not appear on this list, so I would like to have these 4 names added to the list.
Is there any vetting or anything that has to be done before they can go on the list?
Is there any what?
Vetting of these folks, Nick? Is there pre-approval or background, or do we have to worry about doing any of that before
I
they go
don't
on the
know.
list?
Yeah, I don't know what the clerk does in vetting it or checking any information or background information on them, if there's an application or some form required. What you can do is you can adopt it as amended, pending approval by the
Training, I
clerk,
believe.
or the training.
I believe that they have to go through the training before they can.
Yes, if I may, I think that's one of the clerk's duties and responsibility. If she didn't get this, that's not what she sent us. We have to approve what she sends us. She could revise the list and send it to us, but we can't do her work for her.
Yeah, you'd have to do it conditioned on her updating the list.
Yes.
I would think so.
Well, what we might be able to do is approve this list and then have it put on January to add these 4 names.
If she so wants to.
Yeah, if everything checks out with these
Yeah.
4 people.
Okay, that's fine. Here's the list.
Amy. Question I have got, I don't know if anybody here can answer it. The first 2 names, is it one and the same, or is it 2 different?
Those are two different people.
Yeah, okay.
One
This
is,
is alphabetic.
yeah, one is a daughter-in-law and the other one is,
Okay, all right, I wasn't sure that Eve was missed on accident on the first one, or, okay.
I would make a motion to approve the list that was presented.
We'll make a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
so does the motion need to
Yeah.
include the list that was just presented this evening
I
for
think,
review?
I think what we do is approve this, and then we make a note to, on January's agenda,
Okay.
to review this list with the possibilities of so we could do that at the future agenda items,
Okay.
put that on as a future agenda items with the possibility of adding these names
Okay.
of these folks, once everything checks out that needs to be checked out, if
Okay.
anything does. I think that's probably the best way to do it. Nick.
Right, thank you.
Okay, all right, so we got, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. To approve. We got to number 8, consideration and possible action on resolution 2021-36, adopting the 2022 town budget.
I will make that motion to approve resolution 2021-36.
Patty makes the motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Andy makes a second, discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any opposed? Budget moves forward. Thank you, everybody, for your work on that. Number 9, consider and possible action on $10,000 contract with the Southwick County Humane Society for the year of 2020. Is that supposed to say 2022, I wonder?
Yes,
It
it
says-
is supposed to be
But
2022.
it says on the list here, it says
It would be for next year, yes.
for proposed 2021 service agreement, that should be changed to 2022.
Right, good catch. It says on the service agreement itself is correct, but the cover letter was
Yeah,
incorrect.
the cover letter says 2021, right, the dates are.
Because I knew I read it somewhere.
Yeah, the dates are, so that should state 2022. Do I have a motion to approve that with the corrected date on the cover letter? Although it's.
I'll make that motion.
Andy makes a motion.
Second.
Bill seconds. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Consideration and possible action on $42,590 to be paid to the Alexander Airport for, again, 2022 support.
I can make that motion to approve $42,590 to be paid to Alexander Airport.
I'll second that motion.
Bill seconds. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Number 11, consideration and possible action on $63,740 contract with the Horton Group for the town's commercial auto liability property, VFD accidents and sickness, LOSA, and workers' comp insurance.
I will so move. Jim.
Bill makes the motion. Do we have a second?
A second.
Amber, second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. Number 12, consideration and possible action on $107,216.18 being paid to United Emergency Medical Response for the 2022 contract.
I'll make that motion.
Andy makes the motion. Any discussion? Or a second, looking for a second, sorry?
I just, I did not get a number 12 in my packet. Is there a number 12?
I didn't see one either. No.
Okay, thank you.
Did we get a second?
I'll second.
Patty seconds. Any further discussion?
I think, and maybe Amy can confirm this thought, maybe the reason why we didn't get anything of number 12 in our packet was because this is the year that no increase from previous years?
That could be,
Because
yeah.
they're holding
I
a
do know
flat
it
fee
is the
now.
same.
I believe that's,
Is that in one of these notes? I think I read that
oh,
also.
did you?
Yeah, it is in the, it's in the beginning of our packet.
Yeah, and right here. is it-
Oh, no contract this year, okay,
Still
We're
part
just
of the
going,
current.
still
And there's
operating
no
on a 10-year
There
increase.
is
contract.
no increase.
correct.
Yeah, okay, so
Roger,
it's
thank you.
ongoing.
She's on it, yeah.
Okay, where are we at with that?
13. Oh, you're good with
That motion
12.
passed?
Yep.
Okay. Consideration possible action on 2022 collective bargaining agreement with the Teamsters General Union Local 662. Need a motion for that?
I'll make a motion to approve the contract.
Your motion,
Second.
second by Amber. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I,
Any opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. 14, consideration and possible action on contract for 2022 Central States Health and Welfare Fund for Teamster Union employees and non-union employees' health insurance, town's portion being $161,987.90.
I'll make that motion to approve.
Andy makes the motion. Do I have a second?
I can second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed.
And just on that discussion, does it make a difference whose name is on it? On the back of page 14.
Part of the 3-year contract, I think that still holds up, right? Because it was
That's
signed by the
correct.
current
Okay,
person at the right
thank
time.
you.
Number 15, consideration possible action on WPPA contract for 2022 to 2024. Have a motion?
I'll make that motion to approve as presented.
Motion as presented. Do we have a second?
Second.
Amber seconds. Any discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Number 16, consideration and possible action on contract for the 2022 health insurance for police department union employees, town's portion being, there's a discrepancy
Yeah,
on that. It's actually $123,543.68.
I'll make that motion to approve as
Okay, makes a
presented
motion
with
to-
that correction of $123,543.68.
I'll second that motion.
Bill, second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Number 17, consideration possible action on 2022 contract with Delta Dental for police department union employees, dental insurance, $7,369.80.
I'll make that motion to approve.
Motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Andy seconds. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Pass. Okay. Number 18, consideration and possible action on employees carrying over vacation to 2022 as allowed by the employee handbook.
Make a motion to approve.
Amber makes a
Second.
motion. Andy seconds. Any discussion?
I just had discussion on it.
Sure.
Okay. You know, I personally worked in the paper mill, and yes, we got seven weeks vacation for some of us as we went out. But, you know, vacation time is given for recreation and rest, and that's what it is. We even had people that would, you know, take off and bale hay, and they got caught. They didn't get paid vacation pay. It's a, you know, I'm gonna approve this, I'm gonna vote yes, but I just think we should watch how we carry over, are we giving our employees too much vacation? You know, kind of thing, that they can't take it. Because I don't like the building up for the next year or so. And I'm voting for it.
Well, to answer your question, I would guess, looking at the ones that are carrying over, it's probably more of a demand to have to be there than it is having too much vacation would be would be my guess. I'd like to see him use it too, because it's good to everybody get away, but at the same time, sometimes the position requires it. We don't know that, so.
I know in past years, when the vacation carryover request did come about, the consensus was leaning more towards mandating in the personnel handbook to take the vacation, like use it or lose it. Not to take away vacation time, but to maybe make a more effort to use the vacation time.
We have a second? We got a second? Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No opposed. 18 is passed. So, number 19, set wages for part-time employees for 2022. Current wages, $16.58. Standard increase would be 2.3, taking it to 16.96.
I'll make a motion that we increase the part-time employee wage from $16.58 to $16.96.
I'll second that motion.
Bill second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. Number 20, set wages for part-time police officers for 2022. Current wages for starting police officers is $17.26, beginning of the second year is $18.23, beginning of third year is $19.19. This year is a potential 2.3% increase for each, taking it to $17.65, $18.64, and $19.63.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I don't know where we're at here with this, but I know when we were budgeting, we budgeted more than we did this last year. There was a request potentially made to increase these to keep us more in line with surrounding areas. I look at it personally, you know, somebody can go to Walmart and make $14 an hour, and then we're asking these guys to go out and put their life on the line basically for $4 an hour more. Are we in line with where we should be?
Mr. Chairman, I would request that maybe we ask the police chief on this, just to speak on it. I know we have talked about this and we've not come to a consensus, and I don't know if this meeting is the place to make this decision, but I think input from the department head would be important for us to understand whether or not we are in a comparable place with other municipalities in our area, and if we are having trouble retaining our part-time employees and part-time staff. Can he speak on that?
Yeah, I would like to hear it.
Okay. We've fallen behind the part-time rate in Southwood County here. I requested the information from our other local small departments that utilize part-time police officers, and they're starting at over $20 an hour. And we're at, even with the increase, at $17.65, so we're significantly behind what other departments are paying. And that's last year wages. That's not including any increases that they may be getting for this year, okay, for 2022. So in order to be able to attract and retain good part-time help, I would like to see our starting at around 20, and then beginning of that second year go to 21, and then the beginning of the third year go to 22. I think that would provide some incentive for our part-timers to stay, number one, and it would also make us more competitive than what some of the what our other local small departments are paying. Even after the beginning of the third year at 22, that's still less than what Nakusa is paying their part-timers.
Ask you a question. Beginning of third year, do you feel that they are a fully trained officer
Absolutely.
at that point?
Absolutely, yeah.
So they would be equal to
Yes.
anybody
Yeah,
else?
and
out there?
any full-time. And they're expected to perform the duties as any full-time officer. You know, they're not just here to fill a shift, okay? They're here to be proactive, and they all know this. And when they come in to fill a shift for us, they're expected as if they were a full-time, performing as a full-time officer. And the community, the people out on the street, they don't know, you know, whether the officer that they're talking to is part-time or full-time, generally, you know. So you know, we expect from them the same things as a full-time officer, and even at those wages, they're still below what, you know, other smaller agencies are paying. So I just like to see us not fall any farther behind than what we are already. I mean, even topping out at the beginning of the third year, we're not even making what somebody starting in some of these other smaller departments are making. So I know where I'd go if I was a part-time looking for a job, you know, part-time work here in Southwood County. I'd be going one of the other ones that pays a little better.
That was one of my questions.
Yeah.
Are you seeing that? Are you getting people saying, no, I can't, or I'm not interested, or any of that?
Since Port Edwards and Nakusa have gone, I think the numbers that when they are looking to fill positions, I think they have a pool of candidates that they have to choose from. And what I've seen is that pool of candidates is coming in with a little bit more experience than what we're getting at these. You know, we're getting somebody fresh out of recruit school generally and with no experience. You know, it's good in some aspect that we can train them and you know, give them their first opportunity. They're more vested, I guess. But we're not getting the experienced officers that some of the other agencies are getting, where it doesn't take them as long. They may have a full-time position elsewhere on another department, so they're able to attract them vice coming here. So.
Is there a drop-off in the talent? Like if somebody's taking because I'm assuming a lot of the part-time guys are taking whatever shift is open.
Right.
And typically, if I had to guess, it's probably a night shift that's open because
Right.
that's when people want time off or whatever.
Yeah.
Is there a fall off in, I guess, for lack of a better term, talent?
Well, with everything going on in the world the last 3-4 years, there's been a fall off of talent, you know. So I wouldn't say the fall off in talent is because of our lower wages. I think just in general nationwide, there's been a decrease in number of applicants that number one, apply for law enforcement positions, and number two, like you said, the quality is there. And meeting with our North Central chiefs, we've all seen a drop in the quality, I guess, of candidates that are applying. But you know, I think we're at a point now where we're seeing a trend starting to go the other way again. It's starting to pick up, but I think it's a very slow recovery, unfortunately.
Just one other comment, and in regards to our budget, I know we had talked about this, and I cannot specifically recall, I know we talked about increasing the part-time budget
We did,
to potentially absorb something like this.
yeah, we bumped it up by those now.
So, I mean, it's not like we haven't kind of planned to do something like this already.
I think the bottom line is I'd like to see us start at least 20, and then, if the board has some other options for beginning of the second year and beginning of the third year, I guess I'm willing to, hear other options. But I think being at 20 would put us at least competitive with the rest of the surrounding communities that utilize part-time police officers.
Mr. Chairman, just for a point of order, if I may.
Yes.
This, in the town of Grand Rapids, since I've been here, we have the chairman of the board, we have the treasurer, and we have the clerk. And they sit down and they send the budget to the rest of us on the board. And we sit down and we do that. And that's what's here tonight, is that. I don't think it would be proper, because people, whoever saw the agenda or what, the public says, this is what we had. If we want to change that, I think we should have another meeting about changing that. But what is before us is what was presented by the board that sat at meetings after meeting after meeting for this, and none of this came up. And if it did, so what? I just,
Well, it was brought up to possibly increase these, that's why we increased the budget. There wasn't a dollar amount that was, I guess, discussed and agreed upon. And that's why I'd like to talk about it now before this gets approved.
well, I
Like I
don't
said,
think it has to be approved tonight, because there's ARPA funding, and I see where it's going in different municipalities. They're taking some of this ARPA funding and to train new people and stuff like that, and that could be the people that we would train and probably use the ARPA funding for. But for the public to know that what we brought to this board is going to be changed, I don't think that's right. Yes, I think it should be looked at, but I think that should be another meeting of the budget committee.
I would like to, when we did review the budget, we talked about possibilities of wage increases. And the normal was put into to cover the costs, and I don't know what the little extra in there. But the request right now is like a 15% or like a 15% increase from the current wages. So one of the things is that we're trying to utilize part-time people and to keep down the costs of the overtime of the full-time employees. That's always been the strategy of that. So with that being said, not knowing how many hours we're talking about, seeing the numbers in order to make an educated decision to say, yes, this sounds great, or maybe we can go a little bit more, or maybe we need to cut it a little bit more in order to fit into the budget, because the budget we just approved is 25 minutes old. So, I myself would like to see more numbers of hours that, I'm willing to talk about this and look at this. I believe you have to do things in order to retain people. And I know people do like coming to the town of Grand Rapids for the training, because we have good personnel training, people that want to be in this field and want to progress. So that's my take on it. I would like to see more numbers than just, let's go with $20 for starting wages. I don't know how many hours the $20 an hour people are gonna get. That's just my take.
Yeah, rough number, it's 1,500 hours of part-time, but yeah, I don't know, sitting here, I don't know how many hours. I know this year was odd because of a couple extenuating circumstances, but,
Right.
you know, could we look at an average of what's the average part-time amount of
Right.
hours and come up with something there? Yeah, I think that would be pretty simple to do, Mel. I mean, you gotta have an idea of,
Yeah, we have a list of, at least since I've been here, when we hire somebody in a part-time position, how many hours it took them to get up where they could start filling shifts on their own. And it really depends on the experience of the person coming in. You have somebody coming into us with no experience, they take longer to get up to speed.
Sure.
You know, whereas we have somebody that comes in with experience. Our most recent one had some experience, and those hours are drastically cut back because they already have some of that knowledge and experience that they need to be out on the street on their own. So, you know, I can give you, you know, hours of training for, you know, our last 6 or 8, you know, part-timers that we hired. And, you know, you'll get an average, but each one, it's important to know that each one is on a case-by-case basis, how long it's going to take them. We have a set syllabus, how long it takes them to get through that
Sure.
is going to vary.
Right. And
From
then,
person to
are you
person.
seeing though that with personnel that have experience, I'm assuming are coming from other communities that are currently a full-time police officer, are these other communities allowing the part-time or moonlighting per se?
Yes,
They are allowing that nowadays?
yeah. Some are and some aren't. Again, that's individual agency, case by case. Some agencies in the past haven't allowed it, are now allowing it because they know our smaller agencies are struggling,
Okay.
okay, trying to find good part-time help. So they've come out and they've changed their policy to allow working part-time for other agencies. A couple of the top ones is Portage County and Wood County, okay?
Okay.
They've recently changed theirs, okay? So they're allowing their sheriff's deputies to work part-time for other agencies, which has helped significantly. Wisconsin Rapids still does not allow it, okay? So, like I said, that's an agency decision, and a lot of times the head of that agency, you know, has their reasons for or against allowing it, so.
Do we currently have any part-time positions opening that you feel that this is a need today?
Yes, my intention is right after first year, we need to start a process for at least one more part-timer, because one of our part-timers, we had just gotten him through his training, he was ready to go out on the street on his own, and he took a full-time position with Wisconsin Rapids. So we no more than got him up to speed, and he's gone, you know. The other part-timer that we hired last year is still with us and doing great, and has really been a great asset for us. And just being able to find that right person that fits in, and I'm hoping he's going to be here a while, so we'll see. Like I said, we do have one part-timer that started part-time with us, went full-time with Wood County. Now he's stayed on with us part-time because Wood County changed their policy. Obviously, when you have somebody that's working full-time, whether it be in law enforcement or some other business or some other occupation, a lot of times they are not is their ability to fill a shift isn't is great because their full-time job doesn't give them the flexibility to come in on short notice and work for us, or even, you know, like if they got to work a regular full-time day job, you know, it's hard for them to come in and fill a day shift for us. So, you know, anybody that we bring in full-time or part-time that has a full-time other job, they're kind of limited, but we still keep them on. So,
Thank you.
If I may, just for the chief, if you had the opportunity to review the 2022 budget and your part-time expenditure, what do you
Yes.
have in line item, and do you believe, based upon how you operate your budget, that you would be able to sustain those wage increases that you recommended in your 2022 budget without going over budget on part-time? Obviously, I know there's always unforeseeable circumstances, but are we prepared to even do that? I hate to set us up for a situation where we're going to for sure send you over budget on that line item.
the majority of my part-time budget for the last several years has been utilized training part-time officers. Okay. It seems it never fails, and it's going to happen again this year because I just lost one part-timer, and now I need to try to fill it. So if we hire another part-timer, depending on their experience level, I'm going to have to get him trained and back up to speed. So if I just had a part-time staff that I didn't have to train anybody, then yes, I would be able to stay within those line item for the part-time salary. Okay. When I have to bring somebody in and train them, and depending on how much training they're going to need to get up to speed, then that's what takes up the biggest portion of my part-time budget, getting them trained and up to speed.
Just a comment in regards to Andy's comment about setting up the department for failure of meeting budgetary. This past year, the police department for the part-time officers, as of today, November, and still not having the December budget, they're at 121%. And then also for the full-time, they're at 101. So they're already at 1% over for full-time, 21%, and we still have one more month of figures to be put into that.
Yeah, the part-time, I know we talked about that. That was because of an extenuating circumstance.
Well, the training is,
It was different than the training.
oh, Roger.
Yeah. So that's kind of what happened there. That's why I'm saying 2021 was kind of an anomaly. Well, 2020 was an anomaly because of
2020 was
COVID, and
because of COVID,
2021
right.
was an anomaly because of one extenuating circumstance. So that's why I'd like to, and I don't know, maybe I think you help me, do we table this? And maybe Amber and I, as the personnel committee, sit with Chief and go over years and try to look at the numbers and figure out,
Right.
you know, to Andy's point, are we setting them up for failure? Or do
Right.
we say, okay, take the last 2 years and kind of throw them out as, you know, oddities and look at it that way and come back in January
Yeah.
with a recommendation to the board on, hey, this is what we've seen, these are the averages, because
Yeah.
they said these guys are out there putting up with a lot of crap,
Right.
and you can almost go to McDonald's and make these wages to a point. So I want to be fair, and I want to get in the best talent that we can get. Maybe with a better wage, maybe we don't have to settle for somebody that needs a ton of training, where we save hours you know, by doing that, it kind of pays for itself maybe. I don't know, we'll have to dig.
Right, I would like to see it dug into a little bit better, to see the numbers. And, you know, I'm not trying to postpone this by no means, Mel. I sympathize with what you go through for training, and I know you put a lot of effort, and a lot of people, I have heard great reviews on your training and, you know, your department, how they train, so it would be nice to be able to retain part-time and not have to go through that. But there again, you're helping the whole community with training people too. You know, because your department, David and Cody, they all put in a lot of work with training people, but in the same token, because of the fact we have good people training people, we're helping the community. I mean, Andy, I think you started here at part-time too and was trained by the town of Grand Rapids, and look where Andy is today. So I totally sympathize with where you're at, but we have an excellent training center here for the whole community too.
So you are able to table it. If you do table it, I'd recommend that you table it to a specific date. So if you want to table it until next month, and then also refer it to the Personnel Committee. And then in that Personnel Committee review, since the next meeting would be after the beginning of 2022, they should probably discuss and make a recommendation if that's going to then be effective back right to January 1, or at the point where it would be approved going forward.
What would the January meeting date be?
Could I just make a comment about two comments that were made by the board here. If I didn't have any training monies involved to train the part-timers, then I could very easily stay within that line item dollar amount. If I just to pay a part-timer to come in and fill shifts, there's no question that I could stay within those guidelines. And then getting back to Mr. Clendenny's comment about ARPA money, if I used ARPA money just for the training aspect of it, to train new officers, well, I think everybody has heard that that's one of the items that ARPA money can be used for training new law enforcement officers. If I use ARPA money just for the training part, that would go a long way in really being able to dedicate the actual budget line item specifically for those officers filling shifts at that increased amount.
Just the wages.
Right.
So do we need a motion to table it, send it to the Personnel Committee, and have the Personnel Committee come back at the next board meeting with a recommendation?
I would do it with a motion, yes.
I will make that motion.
Do you need to approve, like,
No, it would,
So
no,
their
the
rate
whole
wage
thing
is
would.
gonna
The
Yep.
stay at-
motion that you're making, is it specific to a date next month, or?
Yes, it'll be to the January 11th meeting.
Okay, I'll second that.
That's what we'll
So
come back in
Amy-
January.
Amy,
The whole thing would change.
The current wage is what would continue. At the Personnel Committee, they'd be making a recommendation if it's then going to be effective January 1. You'd have to then reconcile that if that increase was approved.
Okay.
We would bring it back to the January 11th board meeting, and if we retroactive, then yeah.
Okay.
So
Yes,
Patty made the
I
motion.
made the motion.
I second.
Okay, and then,
Andy seconds. Any further discussion? This is long, dragged out discussion
Yeah.
already. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, moving on to number 21, set per diems for the following members for 2022: Planning Commission, Police and Fire Commission, Board of Appeals, Recycling, Solid Waste and Water Committee, and Economic Development Committee. Per diems for chairman and members are both at $60.
So I have a question. Just on-
Sure.
So does the Economic Development Committee have a person on it that's not?
No, and neither does the Solid Waste and Water Committee.
Well, we do have one that is.
It's just a resident.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
But no, the Economic Development doesn't have anybody like that. So, but if something were to be added like that, then we would have a wage set.
All right, thank you.
I'm gonna make a motion to keep the wages as they are at $60 for the chairman and $60 for the members on the per diem.
Andy
I'll
makes a
second.
motion, Patty seconds. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Moving on. Number 22, set per diems for fire and EMS calls. So for EMS calls, current rate is $10 per call. For a fire call, it's $15. For lieutenant, it's $21.50. For captain, is $22.50. Assistant chief is $15 per call, $400 quarterly. Proposed rate would be $12 per call for EMS. Fire call would go to $16. Lieutenant would go to $22.50. Captain would go to $23.50. Assistant chief would be $16 per call or $420 quarterly.
I'll make a motion to approve the new proposed rates that we have before us for the EMS calls, fire calls, lieutenant, captain, and assistant chief calls. As we discussed these extensively in our budget process and accounted for that in our budget
It was
planning and
accounted for?
forecasting, yes.
My numbers I submitted to you were with that increase.
Okay.
We talked about specific dollar amounts. I know you had presented these specific dollar amounts, and according to the notes that Lisa made on here, it talks about specifically that these were all to reflect the increases, and she wasn't sure if this would officially need to be done in a board meeting, but she added this to our stuff. But I know this is something we talked about in the
This
budget.
will be the
process.
first change in those rates since before 2013.
All right. So we got a motion on the floor. Amber second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No one opposed. Okay, we are through. Number 23, discussion on bike share program report from Wood County Health Department. Amber, I'm assuming that's you?
Yeah, this will have to be tabled until January. They were unable to make it tonight. no.
Okay, all right. We don't need a motion with that, do we, Nick? We'll put that on as a future agenda item for January, along with the board folks for the voting, right? Those are the two so far?
And wages for part-time police officers.
Yeah, okay, good. Okay, number 24, November disbursement vouchers. Any questions?
I just had one question. I see that we gave some gift cards to the Bearn crew for helping out with the water issues. Okay.
What page is that?
That was on the second to the last, which would be page 9.
Any other discussion? Or is that just a
No,
question?
that was it. I just wanted to make sure it was due to the water
Okay.
issues
Okay,
for helping out.
all right. Do we need a motion for approving these, Nick?
I think we usually take a
Okay.
motion.
Do I have a motion to approve the November disbursement vouchers?
I'll make that motion.
And it makes a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Patty seconds, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any
And then,
opposed?
Amy's copy can be, or
Yeah.
circulate the
Yeah.
signatures. Thank you.
Sorry, any opposed? Nobody opposed, motion passes. Okay, operator license, looks like we have one, sorry.
I'll make a motion to approve Jordan Russell for a 1 year. Brad Hoozles.
Who's this?
Second.
Second Amber. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No opposed. All right, we will go through monthly reports from the committee. Public Works did not have a meeting. Planning Commission met last night.
Yes, so we had one dog exemption, we had the renewal of the dogs and the chicken permits, with good news that there weren't any issues reported from the police department. They were all okay to approve, which our plan commission talked about. That's a good result, because of the fact that means that the plan commission is doing their due diligence to ensure that everyone is communicated to about the dogs, and also we address any concerns that are approached at the time the permits are issued. And then we had the final plat map for the Deer Road, the Rouge subdivision. And then another thing, we also appointed Jason Grunberg as our chairperson for the Plan Commission. And a new member was Adam Decline. I believe that we need to have that on January's minutes or agenda for the town board to approve that appointment from Jeremy.
Because we did add him already.
Yeah, yes, but for
Jason?
Jason,
Okay.
yes. If you can add that to the agenda, please. And that should be about it.
Public Safety,
We did meet.
no meeting. WTA meeting,
Cancel. Next one will be at Auburndale
okay.
in January.
Airport Commission, we did have a meeting. Again, the little airport's been right along, over the budget and everything as far as the good way. Fuel sales were still up. There was a little bit of talk about potentially turning some of the flat, wide open land into maybe some solar. I know it's been talked about in the past apparently, so I don't know if anything will happen there. Things will slow down now, obviously, with the snow and the golf course being closed, but it's good. It was good. Public buildings,
We did meet.
no meeting. Economic development,
The only update there is that we did receive the funding from the seed committee, so we will be able to move forward with next steps in the plans.
recycling, solid waste and water.
Waiting for January meeting, no doubt about it.
Okay. Legislative did not have one. Personnel, we did not have one.
Are we planning on having a legislative meeting soon?
Yeah, I would figure after the first year, I'd get with Nick, there's a couple things that have to be
Right.
taken care of there.
Yeah, the plan commission was, we, at our meeting, talked about some things that our plan commission would like to address, so it may involve.
Yep, I was planning on looking at something, get through the holidays
Awesome, okay, thank you.
and have one. Yep. Okay, these are done. Reports from individual town board members. Andy, anything?
No, I do not.
Amber?
Nothing.
Bill?
Yeah, I would like to maybe speak to you about the airport meeting in which that new hangar went in. You know, that was gonna go on the city of Wisconsin Rapids property on it. And now they want to do that with the power box and stuff like that. I just think we should discuss it, because I think it's great that that guy had that done and put in the sewer and the septic system rather, and water, and did it all in the town of Grand Rapids. And we get personal property tax out of that. And so, I think it just goes to show you that whenever you want something done with the city, you know, and especially with water and light, you know, they won't do it unless the city says it's okay, of course. And I think since that's on the town of Grand Rapids property on the airport, I think we ought to have a discussion with the gentleman that put that up, or you should. see what he's got to say about that, because they wanted the airport commission to help fund it.
Yeah, they wanted, he was looking for half of it, but I went out with Jeremy after.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I went out in November and looked at that, and he showed me other sites that were available, and regardless of where they were, his problems very well could have been headed off with a tape measure.
Yeah, okay.
It's
all
kind
right.
of the way that I.
I
the way
just
that I
wanted to
looked
make
at
sure
it.
that.
Yeah, no, I went
You
out.
had a communication with him, 'cause
Yeah, I went out and looked at it all with that, and I was in full support of the commission's decision
Okay.
to
All right.
go that way.
that's all I have.
Okay. Patty?
I just had one phone call, which is a good thing, that it was only one for snow plowing this past heavy snow. However, it was just a cul-de-sac or one road that was missed, which I could see how it's missed, because it jogs so much with the city of Wisconsin Rapids and town of Grand Rapids. I'm sure, well, the gentleman said that it happens to him every year. And so, but in a good note, when I did call the Public Works lead person, he reacted to it very quickly, and he was like plowed out the following day by, within the hour of my phone call on Sunday. And one thing I just want to know if maybe this is something that can be addressed in Public Works. If, I know we have sections of how they plow, and they also have assignments of who plows those sections. So if there would be some way that, if something could be created as a checklist or something to say, yes, that's done, because the amount of snow that we had, and this gentleman didn't get plowed out right away, if he had an emergency, that would not have been a good thing. So.
Yeah, and I talked to him quite a bit too, when I talked to the
Right.
Public Works guys. And it was missed by, one of the part-time guys, and unfortunately, that's gonna happen.
Right.
I reached out to Nick also and studied the snow and ice removal, and even though it was missed and it's terrible, we're still well within that policy, and we do everything we can. The guys
Right.
do everything that we can, and I know he said the same thing. What if there was an emergency?
Mhm. Yeah.
They do the best they can. They've got 100 miles worth of roads, and
Right.
this one, a lot of them, they had to do twice because it was a wet snow, and
Yes.
they hadn't seen the edge yet. The ground isn't frozen, so they were trying not to trash people's yards.
No, I
So-
think they did a wonderful job as far as cleaning that up, because then they had the sun, and so the slushiness, and so they did a nice job. My concern was maybe having some kind of a checklist. I mean, as an example, you can go any time, trucking companies have GIS already on the vehicles. They know exactly where the vehicles are at all times. Maybe that's something that we need to take a look at, just to see if we can document, or even to alleviate phone calls to the office. If something could be even on the internet to say section 1 is gonna be, is being worked on, or whatever, just a thought.
Yeah, and that's something that I'll be looking at, because I've gotten several calls about other things, not just this last one. So I'll be looking at it with Mike and Rick, and maybe there's some things that the policy needs to be looked at a little bit differently maybe. And, part of it too is we got a pretty small crew, a lot of roads, and
Yes, indeed.
nobody
We
wants
do.
their taxes raised to be able to cover this, but at
Right.
the same time, people have to be patient and understand these guys are out. It's tired.
Yeah.
It's-
They're out long hours.
but,
Okay,
yeah, we'll
thank
be-
you. That was all I had.
Okay. All right, excellent. Okay, we'll move on. Public input from anybody again. People wishing to address the board to be limited to 2 minutes, with public input limited to a total of 16 minutes. Anybody wishing to address the board? Sir.
Keith Hoopie, Grand Rapids Lions. This is a point of information for you in the town. The Grand Rapids Lions Club is again running the Toys for Tots program. There are 1,100 kids registered for toys, 365 families. We did the sorting today, and we'll do the bagging tomorrow, and the distribution will be on Saturday, and things are coming along. We had adequate funding from outside people that like to support that project. But the 7 veterans in the Lions Club are happy to take the boxes out to the businesses, and we've had a great response. So I think, for your information, we're doing well, and the kids are gonna have Christmas.
Excellent.
I'll applaud that. Thank you for your efforts there, that's fantastic. It's always good when the kid gets a present on Christmas. Anybody else? Thank you all. Moving on, future agenda items, so we have 4, do you have those, a copy of those?
Yes, so we're gonna do the 4 people added to the election, and then the part-time officer wages, and Jason being approved for plan commission.
And then Amber's discussion on
And
the
then
bike share
Yep.
program.
Thank you.
Alrighty, then number 30, that's moving into closed session. Grand Rapids Town Board move into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute, section 19.851C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility.
I will so move, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, second?
Second.
Andy, second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Roll call.
Okay, sorry. Bill?
Aye.
Anything? Patty?
Aye.
Andy?
Aye.
Amber?
Aye.
Jeremy? Aye.